Crafty, all really slow Pokemon.
But then
you see Rayquaza
Xerneas?
Xerneas, you're wondering, well, what? Even if he does get Trick Room up, what's he going to do? Put my Pokemon to sleep and then do what?
And then do nothing.
Right. So, Enosh, you have to be thinking Enosh has something up his sleeve here because you've certainly never played against a Slowbro this year in an official match, so, especially one like Nationals.
I haven't played played against a Slowbro in a friendly match. I'm only playing against Darkrai in my friendly matches. So we have to see if Alberto can actually make the transition. He looks like he's going to go for the very standard Con Artist leads, Smeargle and Kangaskhan, up against Enosh, who's going to bring his own Smeargle and Rayquaza. So Enosh going ahead and sending out his first restricted Pokemon, that Rayquaza, and his own Smeargle up against Alberto's Kangaskhan and Smeargle. So battle of the Smeargles here, most likely.
Yeah, and this will be tricky. Enosh's Smeargle has a Choice Scarf, as we know, so it's going to be locked into whatever move it chooses. If it does go for a Dark Void, and Alec goes for maybe a Crafty Shield with his own Smeargle, he could be locked into a move he really doesn't want to be locked into.
Yeah, and of course you also have to worry about the Fake Out coming out from the Kangaskhan as well.
Yep.
I mean, if Smeargle gets that Crafty Shield up into the Dark Void and gets the Fake Out onto Rayquaza, then that's just a free turn that everyone's just sort of spent sitting around.
Right, and Rayquaza's defenses aren't that great, so Kangaskhan with a double edge on it could deal a ton of damage. It could even, maybe if it predicts Protect from Rayquaza, it could go for a Power-Up Punch onto Smeargle or something. It's definitely an interesting matchup here. I don't know if Choice Scarf will really help Enosh too much here.
All right, well, Enosh is going to go ahead and Mega Evolve his Rayquaza. Fake Out coming out from Smeargle, actually. Enosh, Choice Scarf Fake Out, making sure that it goes first. Will fake out the enemy Smeargle, and Kangaskhan will get that damage back onto Rayquaza, though. So everyone's just trading a little bit of chip damage this turn. But actually, you're right, that's a lot of damage dealt to that Rayquaza.
That was actually really clever from Enosh. I think he was hoping that Alec would fake out his own Smeargle, so that way it would pretty much waste both of Alec's turns, and then maybe his Rayquaza would get a free attack off there. But we see it doesn't work out too well, so now Enosh actually, he's going to have to switch his Smeargle out because it's locked into Fake Out past turn 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, after turn 1, Fake Out basically about as effective as Splash. Another move that Smeargle could learn.
It could.
But here's Rayquaza here, Mega Evolved, staring down Kangaskhan and Smeargle. Of course, the Mega Evolved Rayquaza does deal a lot of damage.
Right, but on the bright side here for Enosh, it's very unlikely that Alberto knows his Smeargle is Choice Scarf, so he might actually go for like a Protect or a Crafty Shield, fearing something from the Smeargle when he really doesn't know that it's locked into Fake Out.
Well, it looks like Enosh is going to protect his Rayquaza a little bit, gets the Intimidate off onto the Kangaskhan, switches out his Smeargle, will be able to reset the Choice Scarf there, as Rayquaza will go for a Protect this turn, just trying to avoid as much damage as possible, and a Dark Void coming out from the enemy Smeargle. Of course, Rayquaza will be able to avoid that thanks to its Protect. Smeargle, though, will go to sleep. Fortunately enough, Scrafty did pack some Lumberries in his pants. Maybe that's why they keep falling down. Kangaskhan, though, will be able to get the return off onto Scrafty. Deals a lot of damage. A critical hit through the Intimidate, but double critical hit. Oh, Scrafty, no! Scrafty goes down for free there with that double critical hit from Kangaskhan. Here comes the Moody Boost, defense raise for Smeargle, and drop speed. So dropping speed, really good. Don't have to worry about really fast Dark Voids coming out.
Yep, the defense could also be good, though, because I imagine this Rayquaza is physical, so that could actually be good for Alberto, despite the speed drop.
Enosh is able to get his Smeargle in now, though, so neither Smeargle nor Kangaskhan switched out, so no risk of Fake Out coming out. And now with that Twist Scarf Dark Void, really possible that Smeargle could just put these Pokemon to sleep and let Rayquaza do what Rayquaza does best, which is knock out some Pokemon.
Yep, but at the same time, he does have to be wary for a Crafty Shield from Smeargle if Alberto has it. It has picked up a lot of steam recently.
Ooh,
but,
Alberto doesn't go for a Crafty Shield. Instead, Dark Void comes out from Enosh's Smeargle, is going to connect with the Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan goes to sleep, and it also will connect with the enemy Smeargle. So both Pokemon asleep now on Alberto's side, and Rayquaza, Mega Rayquaza, able to just start dealing the damage here, and a Dragon Dance. Enosh is not messing around. Second time we've seen a stat boosting move on one of our restricted Pokemon, so Dragon Dance raising its attack and its speed. And this Rayquaza should be about ready to crush some of these Pokemon. Although Smeargle now getting a bunch of defense boosts. That Smeargle's
man,
pretty bulky.
It's going to be pretty bulky. It's going to be tough to take down, despite facing against a Dragon Dance Rayquaza. But it's certainly interesting, Dragon Dance Rayquaza, because it's already very fast and it has very high attack. But usually when you see stat boosting Pokemon, they have moves that hit multiple Pokemon. So Groudon with a Swords Dance has Precipice Blade, Xerneas with Geomancy has Dazzling Gleam. Rayquaza can only take down one Pokemon at a time, so that's one of the drawbacks. Luckily, Enosh put his Pokemon to sleep, put the opponent's Pokemon to sleep, so that should help.
All right, well, Xerneas will come in. Both of Alberto's Pokemon have slept for one turn, so they could wake up again here. Rayquaza, though, will go for the Dragon Ascent, try to get one of these Pokemon off the field and leave Xerneas in a good position. Will target down that Smeargle. Oh, look at all those defense boosts! Smeargle survives the Dragon Ascent like a champ, and Kangaskhan wakes up. Power-up punch coming out from the Kangaskhan onto Xerneas. So Kangaskhan going to boost itself. Another critical hit. 3 crits in a row. Can it get the 4th? No, so only 3 crits for this Kangaskhan so far, but is going to get the attack boost, bring it back up to a little bit above where it started. Smeargle, though, is going to stay asleep, but, you know, those defense boosts really coming through for Smeargle, not able to get it off the field, and that Kangaskhan starting to get scary.
Well, there's a defense drop, so now it'll be a little bit easier, and it's already taken so much damage, so it shouldn't be too hard to take out now, but I'm sure Enosh was hoping to see this Kangaskhan stay asleep because I'm sure he wanted to get a Geomancy up here with the Xerneas. Since Rayquaza is such a threat with already having one Dragon Dance, Alec would be tempted to take down the Rayquaza, ignoring the Xerneas.
Yeah.
But with Xerneas and Geomancy, that would really punish you if you just ignore it. You can't ignore Xerneas, but you can't ignore Rayquaza. But now he's got a double attack Kangaskhan. It is a little bit better for Alberto to be able to handle at least one of them.
We'll have to see if Enosh goes to take out that Kangaskhan. Of course, Smeargle, by surviving that attack, has now gone through 2 turns of sleep, so it's just sort of a ticking time bomb there waiting to wake up and start putting its opponents to sleep now.
Right, or even if it doesn't, even simply going for a Follow Me, since Kangaskhan
has those boosts.
It has those boosts, and a Dragon Ascent on it from the Rayquaza could take it out, so a Follow Me there would be pretty useful if he has it and if he wakes up.
All right, all going to come down to this. Oh, Kangaskhan actually going for the Sucker Punch, trying to get as much damage in as possible onto Rayquaza. So much damage, picks up the KO onto Rayquaza. The Sucker Punch, thanks to the drops from the Dragon Ascent, thanks to the power-up punch boost, is able to pick up the KO there. Rayquaza not able to do anything. Xerneas going for the Dazzling Gleam instead of a Geomancy, trying to get that Smeargle off the field. Will pick up the KO there. Now Kangaskhan on the field with the Xerneas and that Scarf Smeargle in the back, which at least Enosh was able to get that Smeargle off the field in case there was a Crafty Shield.
Right.
Has to worry about Lumberries on Alberto's side, or Chesto Berries, but if there's a way to get out of this, it's to continue Dark Voiding everything in Geomancy.
If there's a way, it's with Xerneas and Smeargle. So with a Choice Scarf, Dark Void, and then that hopefully hitting and putting Alberto's Pokemon to sleep, hopefully no Lumberry if you're Enosh, and then getting Xerneas set up with a Geomancy, that's Enosh's way to come back and win this game.
All right, will really come down to what Alberto had in the back. If he has that Crobat in the back, this could be all over.
Yeah. Especially if it has Lumberry.
Especially if it has Lumberry.
Which, as we saw, most Crobats do.
What was it, 74%?
Yeah.
All right, well, Smeargle on the field for Enosh and Xerneas out on the field for Alberto. Trying to bring his own Xerneas out on the field, maybe hoping for a Dark Void miss here. Maybe did not bring the Crobat in the back to deal with this Xerneas or Smeargle.
I'm going to guess it's because he didn't bring the Crobat, or else I think he had brought it out because he's already seen Smeargle, so he knows that's what's coming, and he sees the Xerneas, so...
Yeah, so he probably also brought his Groudon in the back.
Right, so if you're Enosh, you know that Crobat isn't there, or else it would have come in. So Enosh is looking really good here with the Choice Scarf, Dark Void, free Geomancy.
Free Geomancy will put the Kangaskhan to sleep, and it looks like it will be able to put both Pokemon to sleep. So Enosh taking both Pokemon out of the game for at least this one turn from Alberto's side, gets the free Geomancy, and a Geomancy up Xerneas is one of the most terrifying things in the game, especially at full HP with a Scarf Smeargle supporting it.
Yeah, it's going to be really tricky for Alberto to come back because Enosh's Xerneas got the Geomancy up first, so Alberto's his Xerneas will be taken out really quickly. It's not even going to be able to set up a Geomancy because it'll simply be 2-hit KO'd by Enosh's Xerneas at this point. So there's really not a whole lot he can do unless this Kangaskhan, it doesn't have enough HP, I don't think, to survive a Dazzling Gleam, but his only hope is that it survives and goes for a return or a double edge onto Xerneas.
Could be close, but of course then they still have to wake up. in the first place.
Right. So I think it's looking pretty dim here for Alberto. And then even with Groudon in the back, Smeargle would be faster to Dark Void, and
Smeargle will still have to hit the Dark Void, though.
Right. But Xerneas having the Geomancy boost already, even against Groudon one-on-one, even if you take away Smeargle, I think it would still win, so.
All right, well, looks like Enosh is set up in a very good position. Do Alberto's Pokemon have it in them to wake up? Actually going just for the Moonblast from Enosh's Xerneas onto Alberto's. Gets almost a one-hit KO, but Xerneas still able to survive there. Kangaskhan still asleep. That's huge. Kangaskhan, if it could have woken up, may have been able to take out that Xerneas with those boosts, or at least get it pretty low for Groudon to take it out. But unfortunately, both Pokemon on Alberto's side are still asleep.
Yeah, I think that was actually Alberto's chance, because I think Enosh really should have gone for a Dazzling Gleam there to knock out the Kangaskhan, since that's what could have one-hit KO'd the Xerneas.
Or at least the Moonblast onto Kangaskhan.
Right, but I imagine Enosh would know how much damage his Pokemon does a lot better, since he's the one who trained them. So if he did think Dazzling Gleam wasn't enough, then yes, he should have gone for a Moonblast on Kangaskhan, I think. But I think it would pick up the KO, and if Enosh is also thinking that it would have picked up the KO, I think Dazzling Gleam really would have been the best move there. It wouldn't have done as much to Xerneas, but would have done enough.
All right, well, Alberto is going to be able to wake up his Xerneas and protect. Kangaskhan also waking up, gets a Sucker Punch off, so we'll be able to deal some damage before it goes down. Not a whole lot, though, but every little bit counts. With Xerneas still being up after this Dazzling Gleam, we'll also be able to reduce the attack damage from the Dazzling Gleam onto Groudon coming up if it chooses to use that Dazzling Gleam to get both of those Pokemon out, or if it just goes for the Moonblast.
Yeah, that's really important because, like you said, Dazzling Gleam does less damage since Alberto has 2 Pokemon out, and he does have to use Dazzling Gleam because he's got to knock out the Xerneas. But again, he's got Smeargle. If he hits the Dark Voids, it's over, but Alberto is definitely hoping he misses and maybe gets Groudon to get a Precipice Blades off, maybe a critical hit even. That he might even need that, so yeah. Odds are not in his favor.
The odds are definitely not in his favor, but there are still odds.
Exactly, so you don't want to forfeit here if you're Alberto. You still got a chance.
All right, well, it's all going to come down to if Smeargle can continue to connect with his Dark Voids. Perfect accuracy so far during this game. And I think during the tournament so far that we've seen, both games.
Yep, it has been.
Looks like Dazzling Gleam will come out from the Xerneas and pick up the KO onto enemy Xerneas. So Alberto Xerneas will go down. Groudon taking just a little bit of damage here. Will this Dark Void connect? Is going to connect, so Groudon will go to sleep, and that is going to be all she wrote for Alberto. This Moonblast should be able to pick it up. If not, then Alberto would need to wake up and then get a critical hit.
Right. That would be his only.
Highly unlikely.
Yeah, not very likely. So.
Really well played by Enosh there.
He did. He lost that Scrafty very early to 2 critical hits when normally it would have survived with a lot more HP thanks to Intimidate. So
yeah,
that is exactly why you need strong mental toughness. Because despite getting such bad beats so early in the game, and look at Enosh's position the past few turns, he's been in complete control. So you can't give in, or you can't let the emotions get to you of getting bad beats.
Definitely not. Alberto was able to survive that first Moonblast, but Groudon did not wake up, did not get the Precipice Blades off, did not get the critical hit. So unfortunately for Alberto, looks like Enosh is going to take game 1 here. Really interesting matchup here. Enosh really, Choice Scarf Smeargle plays way differently from the way everyone else has been playing Smeargle during this season. I have to wonder if Alberto, has experienced a Choice Scarf Smeargle before, is used to that, and how you have to play around it.
I'm sure he has, because at the very beginning of the season, there were some Choice Scarf Smeargles. Of course, since it's not as consistent, it's kind of fallen off. So I'm sure he's had some practice against it. But mostly it's just the knowledge that it has Choice Scarf. It's a lot easier to deal with because we see Alberto has the means to deal with a Smeargle. He's got Crafty Shield on his own Smeargle, his own Crobat. If it has Lumberry, that makes it even easier. So he's definitely got ways to deal with it. It's just a matter of, does he bring them? I think after that game, he has to bring them. He has to bring Crobat. Seeing both Rayquaza and Xerneas, they both set
have
up.
Stat moves,
They both set up, so a Haze could really turn the tides if he does decide to bring Crobat. I think that's what he has to bring. Last match, I was saying, maybe Thundurus was a way to go rather than Crobat, but here,
this is definitely
a Crobat game, right?
And it's really interesting, Enosh, even if Alberto had the tools to deal with it, Enosh didn't see those tools. So at this point, Alberto sort of has the information advantage. He knows that he could have been crafty shielding those Dark Voids with his Smeargle and locking that Enosh's Smeargle into Dark Void.
Exactly.
So now Enosh may be a little bit overconfident and overplay his hand on this.
That's a really good point, because if Alberto does bring Smeargle, I mean, of course in a Smeargle v Smeargle matchup, you must think that a crafty shield is coming if he has it. But there wasn't one, so Enosh, that could get him into trouble if he
double fake out.
Right, if he assumes no crafty shield, that really could get him into trouble.
We'll have to see if these players make any adjustments. Again, Alberto will be using that Xerneas, Groudon, Smeargle, Salamence, Kangaskhan, and Crobat team. Really hoping to see that Crobat come out in this game too. Enosh, though, using the Amoonguss, Xerneas, Rayquaza, Smeargle, Scrafty, and Slowbro. Probably doesn't need to, but I'm still hoping that the Slowbro comes out in this game. If you're Alberto, if you're Enosh, do you make any adjustments given how that game went, except for possibly for Alberto bringing the Crobat and maybe teching a little bit harder into the Scarf Smeargle?
For Enosh, the only thing I would consider would be the Smeargle. Since Alberto knows a Choice Scarf is on Smeargle, that kind of makes it a little less effective. He might want to swap that out with something. But or at least even if he doesn't, at least play a little differently, since he knows that Alberto knows that it has a Choice Scarf. So even if he doesn't switch up his Pokemon, at least switch up how he plays a little bit. But he saw how effective it was just getting the stat boost up. And we see, wow, total change. We do see the Slowbro.
Yeah, all right. Slowbro making his VGC 2016 debut alongside his old pal Scrafty. Alberto, though, is going to go for the adjustments that we were discussing. Crobat now out on the field, and Salamence. And I am
yeah, Enosh,
but I am thrilled that Slowbro is on the field.
Me too. You'd think after Enosh just won kind of handily, despite Scrafty getting knocked out so easily, you thought he would just go with the same thing, or at least barely change something. But boy, we see a total change.
Yeah.
He's showing off his Slowbro.
So showing off his Slowbro, showing off his Scrafty. Looks like he went full Trick Room on this turn. We'll go for the fake out onto the Xerneas, which was the Salamence slot, though. Crobat going for the Super Fang itself onto Slowbro, dealing 99 hit points, as Slowbro is going to set up that Trick Room. So Slowbro getting the Trick Room up, Scrafty and Slowbro both loving that.
Right, but Scrafty's out against Xerneas, so it's certainly not loving that switch in. Not a whole lot of respect shown towards the Slowbro by not taunting it, because you'd have to imagine it would go for a setup move. Maybe Alberto was thinking it might have a mental herb, but still, you're up or you're down a game, you kind of got to make some plays. I don't know if the Super Fang was the right move. We'll see how Enosh takes advantage of Trick Room here, because that's really what it's going to depend on.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see how that works out. Especially, the damage on Slowbro is so much less effective if that Slowbro is able to recover that health with its regenerator ability.
Exactly.
I mean, most of that damage just goes away.
Exactly. So that's a really good point.
Scrafty also able to potentially threaten the Xerneas with a knockoff, but will go ahead and switch out instead. Thinks that Xerneas is probably just going to go straight for the damage. And Amoonguss out on the field. And Enosh looking like he's running just a straight Trick Room team with that Psychic on the Crobat. Not enough to pick up the KO. Unfortunately, Slowbro just not quite the offensive powerhouse, but all of that damage coming out from the Dazzling Gleam. Red card, though, from Amoonguss is going to kick the Xerneas out. Usually you want to use that red card to get the boost off. And now Groudon on the field. Not a great position for this Slowbro and Amoonguss to be in. No. Slowbro not able to get the KO on the Crobat either.
Right, but neither are taunted, so this could still be good. Amoonguss gets a Spore off at 100% accuracy if it goes for the Groudon. I wouldn't Spore the Crobat just because of the threat of Lumberry. So he can at least Spore the Groudon, and also if he has a Rayquaza, he can switch it in and Scald with Slowbro if he's brought the Rayquaza.
Yeah. Well, Crobat is going to go for another Super Fang, dealing some damage to Amoonguss, and that Crobat is slowly getting a lot of damage dealt to Enosh's side, which we know can only have one restricted Pokemon now.
It is, but both of these Pokemon can have Regenerators, so if they switch out, they could just both heal it all back.
True, very true.
But I think if I'm Enosh, I think I go for the Spore on Groudon. It's a lot safer than maybe switching in Rayquaza and going for a Scald. I don't know if he wants to show his hand that soon. So he might be better off just Sporing Groudon and attempting a Psychic on Crobat and seeing where that gets him.
Yeah, definitely going to want to try and just deal with the field as it is right now. If you can get that Groudon put to sleep pretty quickly and take it out of the game for a couple of turns, that's always worth it.
Yep.
But it looks like Crobat is going to switch out, recognizing that it may need that taunt for later in favor of Xerneas. Groudon will go for the Protect itself. So if Enosh did go for a Psychic into the Crobat and a Spore into the Groudon, won't be a very effective turn. Actually dealing a little bit more damage to Xerneas than I expected it to. But the Spore into the Protect there.
Yeah, it's a pretty high special attack Slowbro. Maybe Enosh decided to invest in special attack to make it do a little bit more damage.
Yeah,
that
still
could
not
pay
enough
off.
to get the KO onto the Crobat though.
No.
It's trying. Slowbro's doing his best.
Yeah, Enosh is in a tricky spot here because both of these Pokemon are huge threats. You can't let Xerneas get set up with a Geomancy. Of course, you can't let Groudon fire off a Precipice Blades with Amoonguss and Slowbro at this level of HP. So both Pokemon want to be spored here. It's going to be tricky to see what Enosh decides to do. Maybe this is the turn, if he brought Rayquaza, to switch Amoonguss out and maybe pick up a cheeky KO on Groudon.
Maybe. Looks like he did bring Rayquaza, but instead switched the Slowbro out, leaving the Amoonguss in to try and put one of these Pokemon to sleep. Rayquaza, though, on the field. Really risky to switch it into the face of a Xerneas. Groudon, though, switching out on Alberto's side in favor of Crobat. So Groudon does not want to get spored here. Xerneas will go for another Protect. Alberto just trying to stall out the clock here on Trick Room. Spore, though, on the Groudon slot is going to connect with the Crobat. But, you know, I don't want to be Rayquaza up against Xerneas.
No, definitely
Even if it hasn't gotten its Geomancy boost off, and that Crobat had a Lumberry.
Right, and even if Rayquaza goes for a Dragon Dance, outside of Trick Room to get faster than Xerneas, Xerneas has Geomancy.
Yeah.
Crobat has Tailwind. Crobat even has Taunt for the Amoonguss. Pretty good spot for Alberto, but you never know how Pokemon are trained. Maybe Rayquaza's trained to be maybe a little bulkier to survive a Dazzling Gleam from the Xerneas, or an unboosted Moonblast, or... Enosh still has some options.
Enosh is one of those players who likes to go for some of those wackier, trained Pokemon. You know, he likes to survive attacks that normally you don't.
Yep, some people decide to go for an Assault Vest on Rayquaza, others maybe Focus Sash. There's a lot of ways for Rayquaza to survive Xerneas. We'll see if Enosh decided to go for either of those.
Well, it looks like Alberto has given up on stalling out the Trick Room, though. Amoonguss will get the Spore off again onto Xerneas while Rayquaza goes for that Dragon Dance. So is going to go ahead and boost itself up in preparation for this, for the end of Trick Room here, but Crobat there with that Tailwind.
Alberto with the same thought. He's prepping for once Trick Room ends, set up the Tailwind. That negates a Dragon Dance.
One step ahead.
Right, so really well played by Alberto. We said this was the game to bring Crobat in, and it's certainly looking like it with that turn right there, and with the threat of Taunt on Amoonguss, even a Super Fang on Rayquaza. There's a lot it can do.
And really crucially, you know, Crobat, we talked about it not taunting to stop the Trick Room. You know, Enosh got the Trick Room up. He had all 5 turns, and Alberto did not care.
Right, he didn't do a whole lot during the Trick Room, but I think coming out with Xerneas freshly put to sleep could be huge, because this gives Rayquaza a chance to knock it out, when normally you'd want to be the Xerneas against the Rayquaza in the matchup. But here, at least Trick Room let Enosh get set up. I think that's what he's hoping for Trick Room on his team. Maybe fool the opponent with Slowbro, Amoonguss, Scrafty.
Just like a really delayed setup.
Exactly, like a delayed setup. Get them into the position to really take advantage and set up.
All right, well, it looks like Scrafty's back on the field to hopefully give Rayquaza another chance to deal some damage a little bit later. Rayquaza is going to go ahead and Mega Evolve right away, start dealing the damage back out. Now that it's finished with its Dragon Dancing, it's ready to start attacking Pokemon. Xerneas still sleeping. Crobat, though, with the Haze. Like we mentioned, Haze is going to get rid of all of the stat changes on the field, including the Intimidate. Not that Xerneas or Crobat really care, but the Dragon Dance really big there. Dragon Ascent, it's going to look flashy, it's going to look impressive, but without those boosts, may not be able to pick up the KO here.
Right, it's not so much the speed boost.
Oh, so close.
That is huge. That haze really, really saves Xerneas.
MVP Crobat.
So if Xerneas can wake up and protect itself from a fake out from Scrafty,
or an Extreme Speed.
Right, it does still have to watch out for Extreme Speed. If Rayquaza has it, we see that it's used to slot on Dragon Dance, so maybe he decided to forego Extreme Speed if he's boosting it. But at the same time, Extreme Speed is so reliable. It's tricky to see Xerneas really doing a whole lot with the threat of Fake Out and, like you said, Extreme Speed. I think Alberto really has to hope that this Rayquaza, since it's Dragon Dance, just decided, let's just get rid of Extreme Speed for some more coverage moves.
Yep, we'll have to see if Enosh brought that extreme speed. If it did, this could be a double KO turn for Enosh, picking up both Xerneas and Crobat, because of course Scrafty could fake out. It won't, but it could. So it's going to switch back out for the Amoonguss, which is
And look at that regenerator.
Look at that. All of that damage that Crobat did with its Super Fang earlier almost wiped away. Extreme Speed will come out from Enosh's Salamence and pick up the KO onto Xerneas. So Xerneas will go down. One of the rare instances you will see a Rayquaza defeating a Xerneas straight up.
Yep.
It does take a Super Fang for its troubles though.
No.
But
this is the downside of Crobat. It can never actually finish off a Pokemon,
Right.
so it can only Super Fang. So if Rayquaza can keep knocking out Crobat's partner, no matter how much damage a Super Fang does, we saw it just did half, that's a lot of damage to a Rayquaza, but it can never actually finish it off.
yeah, I mean, without a partner who can actually deal that extra tiny little bit of damage, you know, Crobat's just going to be sitting there Super Fanging nothing.
Right, so Enosh can just focus on taking the Salamence down, and Crobat can't do anything.
All right, well, we are going to have the Salamence on the field now. Really nice position for Alberto to threaten that Rayquaza, although you have to worry about a Rage Powder coming out from Amoonguss. So Salamence trying to put the pressure on, especially with Tailwind still up, not affected by the haze. But that Amoonguss now, Scrafty switching out for the Mushroom, seems to be a really good play there, especially now that it had that Regenerator able to heal all the way back up. Could stick around for a while Rayquaza gets to deal all the damage at once.
Right, but this is a tough spot because Salamence does have access to Hyper Voice, and that should be, it's definitely enough to knock out the Rayquaza after that Dragon Ascent special defense drop, I imagine. I'm not sure how the Salamence is trained, but there's a good chance that that's the case, and then of course we'll deal a lot of damage to the Amoonguss as well, and
Yeah.
Hyper Voice won't be affected by a Rage Powder.
Yep, and of course Salamence did get that Intimidate off, so you know that Rayquaza that was Dragon Danced up previously is now actually lower in all of its stats. Would love to get a Haze now.
I imagine a Protect will come out from Enosh's Rayquaza though.
Well, Salamence is going to go ahead and Mega Evolve here. I'll have to see if Alberto predicted a Protect coming out from Enosh's Rayquaza. Time actually getting pretty close here. We're only at 4 minutes and 30 seconds left. Rayquaza protecting this turn, not going to take any damage. Instead, Crobat Super Fang onto Scrafty. So just trying to get as much damage spread as possible. Hyper Voice as well coming out from the Salamence. So that Super Fang plus the Hyper Voice may be able to, oh, it is enough to pick up the Scrafty with a critical hit. Scrafty goes down, so no fake out support for Enosh now. And he still has the Slowbro in the back, I believe, and the Amoonguss, but none of those can protect it from the Salamence.
No, tricky spot here for Enosh. The fact that Salamence can Hyper Voice and bypass Rage Powder is huge. We saw how much damage it did to that Scrafty. It'll do the same to the Amoonguss if Crobat decides to again go for a Super Fang and Hyper Voice. And even if Rayquaza spends its turn going for an Extreme Speed on Crobat to prevent it from knocking out Amoonguss, I mean, you lose Rayquaza, you're down to a Slowbro and an Amoonguss. That's not going to KO Salamence and whatever Alberto has in the back, so...
Yeah, most likely that Groudon.
Enosh really has to keep this Rayquaza alive, or else, you know, there's no way for him to pull out a win.
Yep, well, Rayquaza is going to go for the Extreme Speed, just trying to pick up a KO on Crobat before Rayquaza goes down. So maybe Enosh thinks that his Slowbro and his Amoonguss can pick it up. Hyper Voice onto Rayquaza is enough to pick up the KO. Rayquaza will go down to the Salamence's Hyper Voice. And, you know, much as I love you, Slowbro, you don't have the damage to take on a potential Groudon in the back and Salamence.
No, he really doesn't.
And doesn't have the hit points to even win on time at this point.
Nope, and he doesn't have that mysterious air current to be able to knock out the Groudon with the Scald, so... Nor, he might not even have Ice Beam for the Salamence, since we already saw Psychic.
Yeah, we already saw Psychic and Trick Room.
Right.
Running out of options.
Yeah, I think Enosh might just surrender at this point. Maybe he doesn't want to...
He does have Trick Room up, so may still be able to get some Spore plays off with something Precipice Blades could miss.
Yeah, but there's only 2 minutes left. He can't even win on time, let alone win from this position, I don't think. So he might not want to show any secrets he's got up his sleeve. If he does keep fighting, at least use moves that you've already shown. Use the Spore from the Amoonguss, use a Psychic from the Slowbro.
Alternatively, he may want to find out more about this Groudon that Alberto just sent out.
Also true, see if it's physical or special variant. See, maybe Alberto will show a move that Enosh didn't think he had. So,
yeah,
no harm in it.
looking like we are going to be heading into the game 3. Enosh will protect his Slowbro. Groudon also going to protect, so Alberto does not want to give away any information here that he does not have to. 3 protects on the field, and it looks like Amoonguss possibly going to spore something. Yeah, sporing the Groudon slot, just trying to buy some time. But yeah, there's no way for Enosh to win in this position. Not enough time, not enough damage on his side.
No, he really doesn't. But any way you can find out more information, certainly worth the attempt. It looks like Alberto knows not to give away any information, though. So
may just go for a hyper voice and a double protect on the Groudon. But
yeah, that's actually probably the best idea.
Well, this is a really interesting position to find yourself in during Swiss. You know, you've got the game won. Your opponent won't forfeit, and you don't want to give up information because we haven't really seen much out of this Groudon yet.
Right.
So keeping that information secret, if it has some interesting text on it, could be really important in an upcoming game 3.
Yep.
Slowbro is going to go for a Psychic, though. That's a lot of damage on the Salamence. Just under 50%. Spore will connect with the Groudon.
I think Enosh should have spored that Salamence, forced that Groudon to show him some moves.
Groudon is going to go ahead and sleep it off, not showing any moves, and the Hyper Voice coming out from Salamence will pick up the KO onto Slowbro, and we are out of time. And that's going to be game 2 going for Alberto. So Enosh shook everything up, went with his Trick Room mode. It just doesn't look like there's the damage there to hang with the big boys.
No, I think Enosh definitely wants to go back to the kind of team he brought in game 1. It worked out so well for him. Regardless of whether he brings Smeargle or not or uses it differently, I think bringing both Rayquaza and Xerneas is key. He just didn't have enough damage. Rayquaza was too easily taken care of. Yeah, I think that's what he has to go back to, and I think Enosh knows that.
Yeah, definitely knows that. And the interesting thing here is Alberto clearly had committed to countering what Enosh had played the first game. He switched things up to have a better matchup there, and he was still able to beat Enosh's other mode.
Exactly.
So Enosh here trying to catch him off guard with his second mode of his team, but Alberto, just his normal counters countered the second part too.
Right, Enosh had the right idea though. He had the room to risk a game to try and spice things up, maybe catch Alberto off guard, because you're right, he did expect Alberto to counter team Enosh's game 1 team that he brought, which he did.
Yeah.
It's just Enosh's version 2 of his team, his other mode, just wasn't enough to stand up to that. So he's got to go back to that first team that he brought and just face Alberto's counters and see if he can pull out the win.
Yeah, we're going to have to see that. And of course, Crobat coming up huge that game. Those Super Fangs were actually dealing quite a bit of damage over time.
They did.
Slowbro came back in.
And
with,
the haze.
Yeah, and the haze, making sure that Xerneas survived just to stall that game out a little bit longer. Really well played there from Alberto, and really smart adjustments, I thought.
It really was. I expect him to bring Crobat again. Probably the same team.
Yeah.
But at least
I feel like you don't make changes if you're Alberto.
Right. I mean, there's not much he can really change other than the Mega, whether he brings Kangaskhan or Salamence, because he's definitely bringing Groudon and Xerneas, and he's definitely bringing Crobat because of how good it is in this kind of matchup. So it's just, what is that last slot? You might as well just keep doing what just won you game 2. But other than that, not too many adjustments Alberto needs to make, I don't think.
And Enosh just goes back to his game 1 team. Does he switch out the Choice Scarf Smeargle anyway? Maybe for an Amoonguss or Scrafty support instead?
Well, he did bring Scrafty game 1. We didn't get to see what it did because it fainted to the double critical hits. I think Smeargle could still be an option here.
Worst case scenario, it's a priority fake out.
Right, and I'm sure it has other moves up its sleeve. A move we do see sometimes with Choice Scarf Smeargles is Transform, so then you can get the clone of what you copy. It'll have a Choice Scarf, so that's certainly an option. I don't know if Enosh has done that, but I think Smeargle is still okay to bring even against Crobat, as long as you play it a little differently.
Yeah, as long as you play knowing.
You have to play knowing that Alberto knows that it's Choice Scarf.
Yeah, that's the really hard part. That's what makes Choice Scarf Smeargle a little bit more difficult to play than people think.
Right.
Most people think you just bring it in and just click the Dark Void button over and over again, but you know, that's not that hard to play around.
Exactly, and on the flip side, it's also very hard to play around if your counters get knocked out. So if Enosh is able to take care of Crobat and then kind of put Alberto in a lock with a Choice Scarf Smeargle and then either a setup Rayquaza or a setup Xerneas.
Like we saw at the end of game 1.
Exactly. There's not a whole lot Alberto can do to counter that. So he's got to focus on keeping Crobat around for the Smeargle if Enosh brings it. So that's really, it's not so much an adjustment, it's more of a game plan.
Yeah. Well, this should be a really interesting Game 3. I can't wait to see what these players bring. I mean, Enosh shook it up both games. We're predicting he's probably going to go back to his roots in Game 1 that got him the victory.
Yep.
Alberto made some really smart adjustments in Game 2 and was still able to hide everything about that Groudon. So this could still be, like, there's a lot of information that these players haven't gotten in these games yet. And it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt as we head straight into Game 3 right now. Alberto Lara on the top of your stream up against Enosh Shachar, who you're looking at right now. Enosh leading the Smeargle Xerneas this time, going to get that setup Pokemon out right away, and Alberto going for the Salamence Crobat. So the Crobat back out on the field. Good matchup against both the Smeargle and the Xerneas.
It really does, because even if Enosh sets up, he'll get hazed. If he doesn't set up and lets himself get Super Fanged or whatever he switches in gets Super Fanged, there goes a whole bunch of HP.
Potentially
Smeargle,
threatening a KO onto that Xerneas with Super Fang and a Salamence.
Right, Smeargle's threatened by Taunt. It can still go for a Dark Void and try and put Salamence to sleep, but I have to imagine Alberto protects the Salamence this turn simply because regardless of whether it gets hit by a Dark Void or not, the Xerneas is there, which threatens a one-hit KO on it. So I think either a Switch or a Protect from Salamence is most likely. Probably a Protect, so that way Crobat can taunt the Smeargle.
Smeargle could also just fake out that Crobat.
Well, it'll have Inner Focus, but
yeah.
So it won't get flinched.
One of the other reasons that you would bring Crobat instead of Thundurus.
That's also true.
Salamence will go ahead and protect this turn as you predicted, while Smeargle is going straight for the Dark Void. Will not be able to connect with the Salamence because of the Protect, and will not be able to do anything to this Crobat because it is carrying that Lumberry. So Crobat, Enosh is able to blow the Lumberry out from Crobat, and Crobat actually going for the Tailwind instead of a Taunt or anything, just trying to get his entire team outspeeding Enosh's Smeargle and Xerneas. Dazzling Gleam will come out from Enosh's Xerneas, deal some damage to Crobat, but thanks to its poison typing, not that much.
I think the Tailwind's fine because it'll let him taunt Smeargle this turn, and he'll be faster despite Smeargle's Choice Scarf, thanks to that Tailwind. And since he's locked into Dark Void now, it's not like he can suddenly switch up his moves to play around an incoming taunt or anything.
I mean, you do also have to worry about Smeargle just switching out,
right?
Which leaves Alberto open to a Super Fang Double Edge combo onto the Xerneas.
But at the same time, by staying in and going for a Dark Void now, it pretty much forces Crobat to taunt rather than go for a Super Fang on Xerneas. So we can still Dark Void and then maybe go for a Moonblast or a Dazzling Gleam to try and get a KO on Salamence.
True.
Because at the worst case scenario, he'll just switch Smeargle out next turn.
Yeah. So Salamence is going to go ahead and Mega Evolve. Smeargle is not going to be switching out, looks like. So it looks like Enosh is going to force the question here with Alberto's Crobat using Taunt. So Taunt onto Smeargle will not be able to get this Dark Void off. Hyper Voice coming out from Salamence, dealing damage to both the Xerneas and the Smeargle. Not enough to get the KO on the Smeargle, though. And another Dazzling Gleam coming out from Xerneas, trying to deal damage to both the Salamence and the Crobat. Picks up the KO on the Salamence, deals a little bit more damage to Crobat as well. And like you mentioned, forcing that taunt there, making sure that Alberto couldn't really go on the aggressive there.
Right, so even though he knew the taunt was coming, it was still a good play by Enosh going for that Dark Void. He is definitely going to have to switch Smeargle out now.
Right.
But
he could always struggle.
Right, I know. Does get same type attack bonus, but I don't think Enosh wants to do that. He's not in a great spot now, even though he knocked out that Salamence. Xerneas in a matchup against Crobat and Groudon.
Doesn't have to worry about stalling out those Tailwind turns.
Doesn't do a whole lot. I imagine Alberto will get a free Super Fang off on whatever Enosh switches in. Scrafty would be good here if the Groudon is a physical variant.
Well, it looks like Rayquaza
is also a good switch in.
Rayquaza not able to take any damage from a potential Precipice Blaze, resists any Fire-type attack moves that might come out. Xerneas going to go ahead and protect this turn, just trying to stall out as much of this Tailwind as possible. Super Fang, it will connect with the Rayquaza, so still dealing good damage there. And Eruption coming out from Groudon. Eruption at a 50% Rayquaza in the Desolate Land Sun. Isn't able to pick up the KO. Rayquaza still holding on. And of course, we do know that it has the extreme speed, which could be very dangerous for that Crobat right now.
Right, I don't know if it's enough to pick up the knockout. It depends how each Pokemon is trained, but certainly a threat there because Crobat is one of the Pokemon that'll counter Xerneas. So even though you're trading a Rayquaza for a Crobat, you know, maybe it's still worth it if it allows Xerneas to sweep the rest of this game.
And allows you to bring Smeargle back in and start Dark Voiding everything.
Exactly, yep. So I certainly think taking care of Crobat is a good play for Enosh. At the same time, that was a great play by Alberto. He knew the Smeargle had to switch out. So that was the safest spot to double up into with a Super Fang and an Eruption. He barely didn't pick up the KO, but it was still a great read.
Yeah, it looks like Groudon's Eruption just not quite ferocious enough, even at full hit points, even in the... Oh, that's right, because of the airlock, so he lost the boost. So Amoonguss actually coming out now in favor of Xerneas. So Enosh has the Amoonguss now on the field. Enosh's Rayquaza is going to go ahead and Mega Evolve as well. So no longer afraid of the sun. Brings actually his own windy weather here. Will protect that Amoonguss a little bit from Groudon's fire-type attacks. Goes for the extreme speed. Will connect with the Groudon, actually. So just trying to get damage down onto Groudon, dealing a very little bit of damage. And a taunt coming out from the Crobat onto Amoonguss. A taunt on the switch-in of an Amoonguss is huge almost always. Eruption comes out, will be able to pick up the KO onto Rayquaza this time, and almost gets the KO onto Amoonguss as well. So a little bit of damage dealt to Groudon with that extreme speed, but a lot of bit of damage dealt back from that Groudon with that Eruption. Red card,
he does get the red card, though.
Red card is going to bounce that Groudon back in favor of Alberto's Xerneas, though. Amoonguss is pretty bulky, but it's pretty weak right now. 19 hit points.
Yeah, I don't
Crobat,
know.
Xerneas.
I don't think that was a great play by Enosh. He knew Tailwind was going to be expiring, so it was certainly to let a Pokemon faint this turn to bring Smeargle in for free, so that way you can threaten a Dark Void. But at the same time...
He may have actually been hoping that Amoonguss would faint on the switch in there.
That's the key point, because he wanted to get Smeargle and Xerneas out at the same time. Now he has to spend a turn switching Amoonguss to Xerneas. That's...
But in which case, why would you deal damage to the Groudon?
That's... I'm sure he wanted to...
to weaken the Eruption.
for the Xerneas sweep, but at the same time,
weaken the Eruption.
He must have still thought Amoonguss would faint to the Eruption, but...
Really close.
It was really close, but...
Well, Smeargle is going to be able to get its Dark Void off this time. Will connect with the Crobat, so Xerneas is going to get in for free. Crobat is going to be asleep right now. Alberto's Xerneas did protect itself, so Crobat... Enosh really needing another turn of sleep from that Crobat. If Crobat wakes up this turn and hazes, then Alberto will win this game.
Oh, he has to wake up. 100%.
Smeargle's Dark Void. Oh, Xerneas avoids! That actually could be enough. Xerneas avoids the attack. Crobat is still asleep, though. Enosh will be able to get his Geomancy. Oh, Alberto gets the Geomancy
That's
off.
important because it means Alberto's Xerneas is faster.
It's either faster or they tied and Enosh lost the 50-50. But Alberto Xerneas going first here, able to get the boost off. Huge swing for Alberto. So Crobat didn't wake up, but it didn't matter because Smeargle finally missed its first Dark Void this tournament.
Yep. Well, you definitely can't haze with Crobat now. Oh, well, maybe you could, but...
Because yours would go first.
Right. But, I mean, you'd be lowering your own Xerneas' stats, but at the same time, the only threat left that Enosh has is his Xerneas, so trading off your own Xerneas' boost for Enosh's Xerneas' boost might be worth the trade, especially since you knocked out the Rayquaza, which is the only damage dealer that Enosh had other than Xerneas.
Yeah, and only having the Amoonguss on the back.
Right, so he still could be good. Since Xerneas will move before Crobat, Super Fang won't be very good here because if Xerneas survives whatever Alberto's Xerneas throws at it, like it'll likely survive with hardly any HP, so Super Fang will hardly do anything. But a Tailwind, just in case he thinks maybe it was a speed tie, maybe a Tailwind just in case.
Really unfortunate breaks there. I mean, it was bound to happen. That's the risk you run with Choice Scarf Smeargle. If you're just clicking that Dark Void button over and over and over again, eventually it's going to miss.
Yep.
Well, looks like Enosh is going to just try and stall this Tailwind out.
But the red card's gone.
Yeah, so. This would be great if Amoonguss still had his red card, but is able to survive that round, actually. Dazzling Gleam coming out from Enosh's Xerneas. Still not able to pick up the KO on the Crobat, who goes for the Tailwind.
That should seal it, because now even when Smeargle comes back in, it won't even be faster than Crobat. It was already not faster than Xerneas thanks to the Geomancy, but...
Yeah, so now Crobat, Crobat, these 2 games, it's really proven why, Thundurus can't Tailwind, Thundurus can't Haze, Thundurus can't survive a Fake Out without flinching. This has been, Thundurus can't Super Fang.
Yep, this was Crobat's game, and Alberto certainly identified that. We previewed that Crobat would likely be the key this game against Enosh's team, and it certainly was. At this point, there's not much Enosh can do with Tailwind up. His Smeargle is slower than both. Xerneas is too low. Amoonguss can't redirect anything because Dazzling Gleam will hit both Pokemon.
Yep. Just trying to stall for time. Enosh protects his own Xerneas. Dazzling Gleam will come out and actually pick up the KO onto Enosh's Amoonguss. So we'll be able to get the Smeargle in, but Smeargle at Choice Scarf can't stall. It can only...
It can Fake Out.
It could, it can Fake Out the Xerneas.
And then Faint.
And then maybe Xerneas gets a critical hit Moonblast onto the Xerneas, and then protects, and then Tailwind ends, and then Groudon comes in and maybe wins.
Right, that's his only chance. So I imagine that's probably what he'll go for, unless he thinks Alberto. Unless he, I don't know. That's really the only thing he can do. Fake Out on Xerneas.
Such a rough position to be in. I mean, there may still be a chance for Enosh, but it is slim to none.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with that Protect coming out. Really heads up play from Alberto. It's a tiny chance that he could have lost there, but still smart enough to recognize that potential win condition that Enosh had and close that door shut. Really great play from Alberto, bringing it back after that first game where the Choice Scarf Smeargle really did work. Was able to get the Xerneas boosted and start KOing all of his Pokemon. Alberto switch up in game 2, really crushed Enosh's Trick Room mode. And now this game, very well played from Alberto, able to get the 3rd win and actually go 2-0 this series.
Yeah, it's definitely, it speaks to Alberto's mental fortitude here, because he did lose that game 1. So being able to come back...
The least super Fang. 10 hit points of damage there. The Dazzling Gleam will finally pick up the KO onto Crobat, though.
Yep,
so Crobat,
no critical hit there.
No critical hit. Tailwind will expire, but there's the handshake. It looks like Enosh knows that he has lost this game. And Alberto Lara, really impressive play from him, I think, in these last 2 games.
Yep, he recognized that Crobat would be the key in this match. After not bringing it game 1, he brought it the following games, and it was certainly the MVP.
Yeah, he's definitely been making us eat Crobat for, being, thinking that it was a lesser Thundurus.
Right. Props for that, Evan. That was pretty good. Eat Crobat.
All right, well, congratulations to Alberto for taking that win 2-1 over Enosh Shachar, and he will move on as 2-0, which is, you always want to start without losses.